collaboration, security, data center, and networking. This is IT in the Bay. All right, I'm here with my man, Trevor Butler.
How's it going?
Great. I'm Sean Barr, and this is IT in the Bay. And today we're going to be talking to you, Trevor, about, I don't know, whatever you want to talk about. Oh, what happened there? Whatever you want to talk about.
Well, probably want to talk about what's been enveloping my whole life lately, which is my CCIE studies.
Ooh, that sounds interesting. So tell me a little bit about CCIE-dom.
CCIE-dom, yes. It's been a grueling.
Grueling?
Grueling.
Oh, gosh.
4 months now.
Okay.
Been studying for my CCIE route switch, and just been doing some boot camps, studying every night till 10 p.m. and
just living the life.
Living the life, exactly.
So before we start talking about the CCIE-dom
Mm-hmm.
and your late nights, how did you get into networking? Or IT infrastructure?
Really, I think networking started out in high school, really.
Yeah.
I took a Cisco, CCNA, semester one class that they were offering.
Yeah.
Made some Ethernet cables and learned about the star versus the, ring topologies.
Yeah.
And just was hooked.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, you just fascinated with networking. You did it in your free time. You messed around with computers. You built your own computers, all that stuff.
Pissed my parents off because I ripped the carpet up and was throwing cables underneath the carpet.
Nice.
And yeah.
Networking.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. And then, what was your first like experience with actually a corporate network, or I guess a business network?
I think it was when my parents, who own a business, finally entrusted me, because I think I was a sophomore in college here at DVC, and I was taking a bunch of IT computer courses, and they're like, hey, can you help me fix, I don't know what it was, but something.
Yeah.
And it just kept going from there.
Printer issue?
Probably a printer issue.
Yeah.
Always a printer issue.
Those are the best. Those are the best. And so you joined here, has it been 5 years ago at Looking Point?
5 years in September.
Wow. And so when you started here, obviously you started the NUC, you got some experience, and you did a bunch of different stuff, and now you're doing delivery and going for your CCIE.
Right.
Route switch.
Yes.
And so the test is changing soon, right?
It is. It's when I was at Cisco Live, the one thing you don't want to happen to you when you're at Cisco Live is be told that, the thing that you're currently studying for, that has an end date.
Yeah, well, nothing like the pressure.
Right. Especially, it's only the IE too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where it takes, months and months of studying and getting ready for, and then only to, if you go take it and it changes between your first attempt and a second attempt, that could be no fun.
Well, not only that, they're actually getting rid of the route switch CCIE. They're changing it to, they're calling it enterprise infrastructure.
Oh, okay. And well, is that getting rid of it or just changing or is it a rebranding?
I don't know if it's a rebranding. I don't know if it's kind of like they did with the collaboration, where it was, voice and video, and they combined it to be, collaboration.
Right.
I have a sneaky suspicion it's going to be a lot of the, software-defined networking components, very heavy in this new track.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd much rather, get it before I have to learn all the SDN stuff.
Yeah.
Because I've been studying all the other stuff.
Well, the good news is about early tests is hopefully it would be easier than what it is later. Because I imagine the route switch is pretty well built out. I mean, it's a tough exam.
Yeah. There's that, but also, at the same time, you also don't have as many study materials.
Yeah.
For the new stuff.
That's a good point. Yeah, you got to kind of wing it. You're setting the. You got to try to guess on what's going to be on it and to what level, and hope you got enough to go past, and then if not, you got to come back a second time.
Right.
Now, on your way to a CCIE and the studying, what's that? What's you said your day you're studying until 10 o'clock. Is that every day, Saturday, Sunday, all like anytime you get a free moment, or are you giving yourself breaks? What's that like?
Yeah. So, during the week, obviously I'm here at Looking Point.
Yeah.
And then the minute I leave, I go home. My girlfriend, typically comes home from her job at like 6. So I have an hour or so.
Yeah.
To myself. I just start studying then. Just
Yeah.
open to my office, shut the door.
Lab away.
I got a bunch of lab gear at the house.
Cool.
I subscribe to INE.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to INE.
Yeah, INE.
And so I'll go through their videos, through their lab books and workbooks, and just lab the gear up. I've used Looking Point's viral instances to whenever I need more routers than I physically have.
Yeah.
And just go through the blueprint.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think it's one of those things that is a life changer in terms of just in order to prep for it. So what date are you targeting for the first and only attempt and pass?
Well, I still haven't passed the written.
Oh, so you got to get on that.
Written.
Yeah, written first.
I just actually attempted the written. Was it last week? Yeah, last week.
Okay. What'd you think?
I got a 771.
Close.
It's close.
Is it 800 to pass?
It's 804.
804.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
So you missed it by 4 questions, three or 4 questions. Yeah. That's a killer.
It sucks.
Yeah, it does. So when are you gonna take it? You gotta wait 5 days or 6 days, something.
15
like that?
days.
15 days. That's brutal. Are you gonna just jump right back in?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna jump back in. Although I do have to. My CCMP is expiring on the 12th.
Will that recert it if you get it?
It will. But I don't know if I'm contemplating going and doing the T-shoot again just to recert it, not to take the pressure off.
Right, and then if you miss the troubleshooting, you could still get the IE, and then it would.
I can play those two so that they don't have to wait the full 15 days.
And don't you get some kind of grace period, right? So if your CCMP expires, it'll give you a grace period, like 15.
I'm not sure.
Like a year or something.
I've never had to. I've had it resorted, but I've never gotten to the wire like I have right now.
Yeah. So you gotta go get that thing done. Oh man, pressure's on.
I know.
So let's talk a little bit. I mean, SD-WAN, SD access. I was talking to Chris about that. I think that is something that's going to be more and more prevalent as we move forward and as people virtualize networks and move to the cloud, and you get people in different places and moving mobility. You kind of want a defined policy based on the user, and you want it to follow them around. But what technology are you kind of excited about right now, or what technology have you been working on that you're like, this is pretty cool?
Honestly, I'd like to see more of the DNA center. I've had a very limited exposure to it, mainly just in the trainings that I've gone to Cisco.
Yeah,
and done their little demo environments. My background, I have a background in actual computer programming, and so I am excited on the idea of using APIs and doing a little bit of scripting and that kind of stuff. So having that kind of stuff easily accessible through all the SDN products kind of excites me.
Now the thing about the SDN products, I think the DNA center, and I may be using the wrong terminology, but isn't the DNA center server it's a beefy requirement to run it, right?
Yeah,
it's pretty beefy.
So I think they have the requirement for today is either buy an appliance from them, or actually that's the only thing they have right now is the appliance, and they are coming out with the virtual, but the requirements are like you're taking up an entire server. For itself. So I know you've had limited experience with it. Is there any ideal use case that you've been thinking about, or is it more of just I just want to see what it is. I want to play around with it, see what the capabilities are, and just get more time with it. Just more time. Okay. I think it's great that we're kind of pushing past the traditional networking, and it's kind of I just want to set myself up for the future.
Yep.
It's fairly new to the industry. I'm only 5 years in, right? So
yeah.
I still got years ahead of me.
Yeah.
I know this stuff.
Yeah. I mean, this is what you're going to be living and breathing in the next 5, 6, 7 years. And one of the things, you went to the Amazon conference, Was it this year or was it last year?
It was 2 years ago.
No, was it?
It's been a while.
Oh, time flies. You gotta go again.
I do.
I thought that was like that you just went.
No, I didn't. That was probably 2 years ago. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, I guess then I can't ask you what you learned there.
Other than
well,
not last year's. But.
Yeah. Well, no. I think the thing is like as networking, we've been doing it on premise, right? Or on premise in a data center, on premise and so one of the things that I think you kind of headed up here, at least from an AWS perspective, is how does the network extend into AWS, and what are the things? Obviously, the fundamentals are still applicable, but some things changed. And
a lot of things change, actually. The way they do it is completely different.
Yeah.
It's very heavy on BGP.
Yeah.
So not being comfortable with BGP is can be kind of daunting.
If you're new to it.
Luckily, I'm studying for CCIE. I'm learning a lot about BGP.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Absolutely.
I'm definitely feeling comfortable there. The big thing I think that Amazon came out with, was it about 2 years ago, was the transit VPCs and how those work with networking your different virtual private clouds at all of their different kind of regions.
Yeah, and I heard that the connectivity between the regions, more and more people are having challenges around how to architect a solution that allows their server communication or application communication between regions, because it's no secret that Amazon's had issues in certain regions, and that's why they say, hey, split your stuff across regions. But when you do that, you need to think about the architecture between those regions and how the networking actually works.
Right, and that's really where I think that transit VPC comes into play, because because before that you couldn't actually transit data between the VPCs. You couldn't have like a VPC in the center and have it connect to another VPC and have another, and then those two VPCs they were connected to couldn't talk to each other.
Unless you had a transit between those two.
Right. Before transit, that was just, you couldn't do it.
Wow.
So then they came up with transit, and now what we're seeing is you have third-party, like you have Cisco CSRs, you have Meraki has their VMX 100 that you can put as like endpoints, and then that ties back. So it's into your own, on-premise structure. Yeah.
Do you think SD-WAN will become more and more strategic on those, or some type of, maybe it's DMVPN, but a technology like that to provide connectivity between data centers and Amazon and between data centers maybe on-premise or your edge on-premise sites?
We're already seeing that. We're already seeing, pick your flavor of, SD-WAN provider. They have, an AMI you can throw in AWS to extend that, SD-WAN, cloud into the Amazon.
Yeah. And so I think, what we're seeing is that software, there's the hardware component and then there's the software. And so having networking appliances that have traditionally been a box now being able to run natively in Amazon. So you get that same experience. And so it's just, it may not be physical to you, but it becomes physical through those integrations. Cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how much of that's going to be on the CCIE or how much of that the BGP portion would be.
BGP, I mean, none of the Amazon stuff obviously would be in Cisco. It's two different companies,
everything.
But in the real world, in my job at Looking Point, I actually have already ran into that. Yeah. Just recently, this last project I did where we deployed a whole bunch of Meraki equipment. And they're doing the, Meraki's SD-WAN through all their MXs, and they had a huge instance in AWS, and they were normally just doing VPN tunnels like they would normally do. To natively to AWS, and I said, hey, it's actually, if you want to extend SD-WAN, buy this, literally just buy a license for the Meraki, AMI, and they did it, and they were up within a day.
So essentially, they register it to the Meraki cloud, and then they check the box that says SD-WAN.
Yeah.
And how well does that work? I mean, did you get a chance to play around with Meraki's SD-WAN?
Yeah, a little bit. There's not much they give you. It's kind of part of Meraki's, like
Simplicity. Yeah,
simplicity.
simple IT. Yeah.
Give you a couple checkboxes to kind of tweak, but we're not going to, give you the full, nerd knobs to play with.
Yeah. Keep it simple, keep you out of trouble.
But yeah. And so, I mean, you've got a few options there. You can do traditional, like primary, backup for, your two WAN interfaces, and then, or you can just say, load share across to it, and you can define policies to say, hey, pick the best link for, say, like voice traffic, and send voice traffic over that.
Okay.
So you can actually do some kind of policy, kind of based decisions.
Yeah. What about some of the SD-WAN solutions basically say, hey, I want to tunnel all my internet traffic through my centralized site, but I do want Office 365 or pick it, pick the SaaS application. I want to do that locally. Do you have those options in Meraki?
I really haven't played with those options too much. I know there is a way to, they do a hub and spoke. You can either do a full mesh or a hub and spoke. And so you can kind of, get that where you have a hub that then just advertises a, default route. All the traffic goes there. But I haven't really seen if you can then go and define a Office 365 in the policy and just say, no, kick it straight out.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting actually to try.
Yeah. That's something to take back and play around with, because we got a couple Meraki boxes we could do that. And so let's talk a little bit about the most recent project where you were working in a data center, kind of converting from I would say, highly complex network, where we were able to really simplify the management and just the operation. Was what were some of the key things, like if you had one or two lessons learned from that whole process, going from highly advanced network, complex, virtualization at the network layer, to a little bit of more of a traditional network on Meraki?
Well, I think there's two things. It's the first is, it really is important for like businesses to kind of rein in on the idea of how much complexity we need. And really, kind of the KISS method, keep it simple, stupid. Thing. They had, a guy that was really into, that was actually, I think he was a CCIE back in the day.
Okay.
That they had hired, and he just kind of ran with the network. And they just kind of let him do his thing. Yeah. And then he decided he wanted to leave the company, and left him with this very complex network that they had no idea how to manage. And so it came to it very apparent that they didn't know what they had. Right. And they didn't know what they, they knew what they needed. They knew what the end goal was. Right. And they realized that they didn't need the complexity that they had. Yeah. So it became just kind of my task to kind of weed through all the complexity, figure out what needs to stay, what can go, and then move over to the new platform. I think that happens a lot in IT or just in any organization, any company. I mean, I think the reason why it was so complex is because there was different business requirements, or there was the plan of different business requirements. Those business requirements changed, but the network never changed to match it. So, and this kind of was the case here too. They had, they were planning on doing a lot of stuff on premise in their data center, and they eventually moved to AWS. Yep. And so a lot of that complexity was kind of left behind in the network. Yeah. That complexity was transferred to AWS, but you kind of left the shell of a complex network behind when all you were doing was had a couple of internal services. Yeah, and they could have. I mean, well, we did simplify it quite a bit, and now less complexity, easier to manage, all that great stuff. Cool. What as we're talking about implementations, cutovers, all these things, what do you have a moment that whether it's a cutover, an implementation, where you're working with people, do you have one that sticks out as like the moment, or the one that you're like, this one was interesting, and for what reason? I mean, I go back to the one we've just been talking about. I mean, it was a 15-hour cutover.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was the, hour 15 hallucinations that were kicking in, getting that second Red Bull in me just to, keep me awake.
Power through
it. But there was definitely, it was great just, I think, seeing more on the customer's face when we had spent all this time. They needed to do some stuff on their end. They wanted to move some servers around and do a bunch of stuff. And I was getting the network disconnected from the old stuff and putting the new stuff in. And then just when everything came together, it's that moment when we plug everything in and then everything just worked.
Yeah.
And it connected to, their corporate headquarters, which already had this was for Meraki. So it had the, Meraki MX, the corporate headquarters already. It had automatically created those SD-WAN tunnels, and it was just like everything just worked.
Yeah.
And it was just that it just felt like it was never going to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Because it was a very long day, and then all of a sudden, just the end, just everything fell together.
And you're kind of expecting, they're like, please, just give me a reply.
Oh yeah, I always go, I go in there optimistic, but I always expect there to be a few challenges to overcome.
Yeah.
This one, luckily, I think the IT gods were with me
on
this one because they, I think they said, well, you've been here for 15 hours, so we're not going to give you too many issues.
Yeah. You have nothing left to give.
Right.
Just let it work.
Yeah.
That's great. One thing as you've kind of progressed in your career and you've been here longer, what are some of the experiences you've learned along the way? Like when you look back, do you ever kind of look back and go, wow, I've come a long way?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
So I mean, I came here, I was green right out of college. Never worked in a corporate IT or enterprise IT.
Yeah.
I'd always been, I mean, in college I was kind of making ends meet by providing small businesses like IT services. I kind of had my own little side hustle going.
Yeah, that's great.
But I had never worked, on the enterprise level stuff. And so just having that shell shock of and figuring out that, for especially on the server side,
right.
I'm used to servers where they're just in a single box.
Yeah,
you have a single hard drive and it's one operating system, and the whole virtualization and spreading out the boxes and storage and different pieces and all that stuff. It blew my mind, and it took a while to figure out, but looking back, it's like night and day.
Yeah, the world changes. You start to look at it differently when you come in from an environment of a small business server, like you said, one hard drive and some memory, and their backup solution is a USB backup drive, and they've got something,
right.
They've got a batch file copying the files over,
And I remember, I actually remember quite vividly times when I would stress out and freak out over just having to upgrade a switch.
Yeah.
And now it's just like, oh yeah, we're just gonna do that as part of I'll get that to it whenever I get to it, and I'll let you know, and it's back up and kind of stuff, and it seems a lot. It's no longer this point of stress for me.
Right, that's great.
What used to be very stressful.
Yeah, what is the most basic of tasks? Just getting a console cable to work. It's like you're like, that's not really an issue for me anymore. No. Yeah, that's great. And then now you've kind of seen all of those issues of baud rate issue and
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing of troubleshooting, right?
Yeah,
experience plays a big part of it in it, because when you see all the different even if it's not just bugs, but or just configuration things that have tripped you up along the way, you remember those.
Yeah,
hopefully you remember those, because you're gonna run into them again, and you just move right through it right when it's done.
The first time you hit it takes up a lot of time, but the next time you hit it, it's like you may get through issues in an hour that would have taken you a whole day that you don't even think about anymore. You're just like, oh, okay, do that.
Oh, it's issues where it's like you hit an issue early on, and you think, oh great, how long is this going to take me to get through this little thing? And you're going in your mind, you're starting to think, oh, I'm going to be here all day. It's never going to get done.
Yeah.
And you start getting that anxiety. Whereas now it's like, oh no, I've run into this issue before. I know what to do. And it's done in 10 minutes.
Yeah, that's great. And then, you see that panic sometimes on customers' faces, because they, their job isn't doing that every day. They're doing their stuff and dealing with the business and all of that. And so they bring us in to help them with the cutover. So they're stressed out because they're thinking, what if they're putting all their trust in you that things are going to be okay.
Right.
And you see that too. They're like, hey, is it going to come up or what's going on? You're like, it's okay. I got you. I got you.
Yeah,
you're going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Yeah.
Well, it's part of it too. What I like is, as part of consulting is, not just working with technology, but working with customers.
Yeah.
And I get kind of joy out of both seeing a customer like get excited over what I've just did.
Yeah.
As well as obviously working with technology. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what moving away from technology real quick, what are some of the things you like to do outside of work? When you're not
besides
labbing,
studying for my CCIE.
Yeah. Besides studying your CCIE.
I definitely like mountain biking.
Okay.
That's my number one hobby.
Yeah.
It's kind of obsessive over it.
Yeah.
I'm, when I was a kid, I was in Boy Scouts. I'm actually an Eagle Scout, and so camping's a big thing. I'm a big outdoors guy.
Yeah. Can you start a fire with a piece of wood or a flint rock?
I have once.
Yeah, really?
Only once.
Did you do you do that little thing where you kind of blow it in your hand or whatever?
Yeah, I did the whole where it's like the little bow where you do the stick with the shoelace.
Even that.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
You get a little ember and then you got to like quickly blow on it.
Yeah, really?
I've done that once in my life, and I'm pretty sure it's the only time I'm ever going to get it done.
I was hoping you were going to say you start fires like that every time.
No. I start fires with a lighter. like the rest of us.
I think I'm going to try to do like a mock thing, because we're going to go camping with my kids, and I think what I'm going to do is be like, hey kids, gather around. I'm going to light this with a flint rock and then kind of, do one of those quick little moves with a lighter and They
sell those little flint and steel little kits that will give you a spark every time.
Oh, maybe I should do one of those. But then sit there with the wood, doing the little wood spin, and go, hold on, let me flick it in there.
Yeah, you got to make it so that your kids know who's boss.
Yeah. So they're like, wow, Dad can start a fire with a stick. I can.
He's a real man.
And then and then the next night, look to them and go, all right, get to going. My hands hurt, kind of deal. I don't know. Well, cool. Well, I think we are coming up on time, and there is a tradition that we are starting here on this podcast.
Oh God.
Wait, what? Don't worry, it's fine. It's where we say IT in the Bay on 3, but we sing it. We kind of go like a little sing, like IT in the Bay, kind of thing.
Okay.
You want to try it?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, on 3. You ready? IT in the Bay. Dude, come on.
Said on 3.
I thought, did I count the 3?
No.
Dang it. Okay. I counted 3. All right, ready? Here we go. I was like, what? Is he not? He's not doing it. Okay, ready? On 3, and this time I'll count.
All right.
And what sucks is it's all recorded, so the proof is here. It's recorded visually. It's recorded audibly. It's recorded in people's minds in the room with us. I never know what they're doing back there anyway.
Even those of you out there.
Yeah, there's people that's listening. Yeah. All right, so here we go. 1, 2, 3. IT in the Bay. Yeah, there we go. All right. It took us a little while to get there, but I'm sure glad we did get there. All right. Well, hey, thanks for coming out today and chatting and sharing some stories from the field and
this was fun.
All of it, the CCIE, everything. It's great. All right, so hey, if you want to check out some of Trevor's blogs, you can come over to thelookingpoint.com and then click blog link. And then we got some videos, so make sure you're on our YouTube checking out some of the videos. We're delivering some good content. And if you subscribe, you'll get notified. Keep listening to the podcast. We'll see you on the next one. Peace out.
In the Bay.
IT in the Bay.
In the Bay. IT in the Bay.
IT in the Bay.
In the Bay.
IT in the Bay. IT in the Bay.
In the Bay.
In the Bay.
Bay. Bay. Bay.